I never thought the person who would destroy my life would be sitting across from me at Sunday dinner, smiling like she just won the lottery. My sister Jessica took another sip of wine, looked me straight in the eyes and said the words that changed everything. I used your identity for a loan, $100,000. The room went silent for exactly 3 seconds before my mother, Margaret, started laughing. What can you do about it, Anna? You cannot even afford a lawyer. Jessica smirked, waiting for me to break down. Instead, I pulled out my phone and typed 6 words to my team. Initiate fraud investigation, send units. Outside, I heard the first engine. 3 weeks earlier, I was having coffee in my apartment when my phone buzzed. It was an alert from my bank. Thank you for your recent loan approval. $100,000 has been deposited into the account ending in 7429. I stared at the screen, confused. I had not applied for any loan. My first thought was identity theft from some random criminal. It happens all the time in my line of work. I called the bank, immediately explained there must be a mistake. The customer service representative sounded concerned. She pulled up my account. Everything looks legitimate here, ma'am. We have your application, your signature, your identification documents, all approved 4 days ago. My hands started shaking. Someone had stolen my identity. This was not just inconvenient, this was federal fraud. I asked her to email me copies of everything. When the documents arrived an hour later, I felt sick. The signature looked almost identical to mine. The identification was a driver's license with my name, but someone else wearing professional clothing that could pass for me from a distance. The application listed an address I recognized immediately. It was Jessica's apartment building. No, I thought not. We had our differences growing up. Mom always favored her, even though Jessica struggled with gambling and keeping jobs, but stealing my identity, that seemed impossible. I told myself it was a coincidence, maybe someone else in that building, maybe the address was just randomly chosen. I needed more proof before I could even consider my own sister capable of something like this. I started investigating quietly. As a federal banking investigator for the past 10 years, I had access to tools most people do not. I pulled the email address used for the loan application. It was an old account Jessica had borrowed from me years ago when her own email got hacked. She never gave it back. I found it suspicious but not conclusive. Then I checked the phone number on the application. It was a burner phone activated 3 weeks before the loan was submitted and deactivated 2 days after approval. Smart, whoever did this knew how to cover tracks, but I still had one resource left: security cameras. I submitted a formal request to review the footage from the bank where the loan was processed. Since this was an active fraud case and I had the authority, the bank complied within 24 hours. I sat in my home office, pulled up the video file, and pressed play. The footage showed a woman walking into the bank wearing a navy blazer, carrying a leather briefcase. She approached the loan officer's desk confidently. The timestamp read 9:15 in the morning on a Tuesday. When the woman turned her face toward the camera to sign documents, my heart stopped. It was Jessica, my own sister, wearing professional clothes I had never seen her in, smiling, chatting pleasantly with the loan officer, handing over a fake driver's license with my name on it. The loan officer never suspected a thing. I watched the entire 20-nut interaction 3 times. Hoping I was wrong, maybe it was someone who just looked like her, but no, the mole on her left cheek, the way she tucked her hair behind her right ear when she was nervous, the slight limp in her left leg from a childhood accident. It was definitely Jessica. I closed my laptop and sat in silence for an hour. My sister had planned this. She had created fake documents, studied my signature, walked into a bank and committed federal identity theft fraud. Without hesitation, the betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. We shared a childhood. I defended her when kids bullied her. School, I lent her money when she needed it, and this was how she repaid me. Part of me wanted to call her immediately and scream, demand an explanation. But another part, the investigator part, told me to wait, gather all the evidence. First see how deep this went, so I kept quiet. I did not tell anyone in my Family, I continued my research. I found the company that made the fake identification. They were part larger network the FBI had been monitoring for 2 years. Jessica had unknowingly connected herself to a federal criminal operation. A week passed then too. I built my case carefully, every document, every transaction, every piece of evidence that proved Jessica had stolen $100,000. Using my name, I kept hoping she would come clean on her own, maybe call me. Crying, confessing she made a terrible mistake, but she never did. Finally, I decided it was time to confront her, not over the phone, face to face. I needed to see her reaction, needed to understand why. So when Mom invited me to Sunday dinner at her house, I accepted Jessica would be there too. It was the perfect opportunity. I drove to my mother's house that Sunday afternoon with a folder of evidence in my passenger seat. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. I had rehearsed what I would say a dozen times. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I confronted her privately, we could resolve this within the family. She could return the money, apologize, get help for whatever drove her to this. I did not want to destroy my sister's life. I just wanted justice and my identity back. When I pulled into the driveway, Jessica's new car was already parked there, a sleek silver sedan. I recognized the model. It cost around $30,000. My stomach turned. She had used my money to buy that car. I took a deep breath and walked inside. Mom greeted me at the door with a stiff hug. She always treated me differently than Jessica, colder, more distant. I never understood why. Jessica was in the kitchen, humming cheerfully while setting the table. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey Anna, glad you could make it." Her voice was light, casual, like nothing was wrong, like she had not just committed a federal crime. Using my name, we sat down for dinner. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. Mom's usual Sunday meal. The conversation started normally. Mom talked about her garden. Jessica mentioned she was thinking about taking a vacation. I stayed quiet, pushing food around my plate, waiting for the right moment. Then Jessica looked at me and said something that made my blood run cold. "So Anna, I have some exciting news. I came into some money recently, finally getting my life together." She grinned. Mom nodded approvingly. "That is wonderful, dear. You deserve it after everything you have been through." That was my opening. I put down my fork. "Came into some money?" I asked carefully. "How exactly?" Jessica's smile widened. She looked directly at me, and I saw something in her eyes I had never noticed before. "Cruelty. Let me just say I found a very reliable source." She laughed. Mom joined in. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. "What source, Jessica?" She leaned back in her chair, completely relaxed. "You know what, Anna? I am tired of playing games. I used your identity for a loan, $100,000. Her words hung in the air like poison. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, waiting for her to say she was joking, but she just smiled wider. Mom set down her wine glass but did not look surprised. She looked almost amused. I turned to her. "Mom, did you hear what she just said? She committed fraud. She stole my identity." Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Anna, do not be so dramatic. Jessica needed the money. You have a good job. You will be fine." I felt like I had been slapped. "You knew about this?" Mom shrugged. "Jessica told me she was thinking about it a few months ago. I told her to do what she needed to do. You have always had everything easy. Anna, your sister deserves a chance too. Everything easy." I wanted to scream. I worked 2 jobs to pay for college. I studied every night while Jessica partied. I built my career from nothing, but in my mother's eyes I was the fortunate one who should share whatever I had, even if it meant letting my sister commit crimes in my name. Jessica was watching me with that same cruel smile. "What are you going to do about it, Anna? Call the police." She laughed. "You cannot even afford a lawyer on your salary." Mom joined in again. "That is right. What can you really do? Take your sister to court, destroy this family over money. I raised you better than that." I looked at both of them. My mother, my sister, the 2 people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, and all I saw was contempt. Jessica leaned forward, enjoying my silence. "Want to know what I did with your money? I bought that beautiful car Outside, $30,000 fully loaded, then I took a trip to Lars. Vegas lost about 20,000 at the tables, but it was worth it. Best weekend of my life, she continued. I bought a whole new wardrobe, designer clothes, $15,000 worth, shoes, handbags, everything I always wanted but could never afford.